Good day, everybody. Recording live from Minnesota. I was just looking at the news. Let me adjust the camera a bit. I was just looking at the news a little bit, and I was looking at Louisiana, how they have this huge flooding issue. And to be honest, New Orleans probably shouldn't even exist because it's just a. Why do you build something in a hole when you're surrounded by a swamp? Where you get hurricanes. But you know what? The people of Louisiana are gonna stay in Louisiana, just like people in Guam. They're in Hurricane Alley. We get hurricanes all the time, and ain't nobody gonna leave. We just work around it. So I was trying to look up some information about their water diversion process, and I think they have a water diversion process, but the problem is they don't maintain it. Like they're not testing the pumps actively, active lubrication, all necessary things. I mean, basic. My brother-in-law, my former brother-in-law, he told me that every 6 months you should put gas in the generators and at least start them and run them for a little while. Just like if a car sits too long, a lot of the times the brakes lock up, the engines lock up. You probably need to turn it over manually a couple times before you try starting it for real. I think the same thing with pretty much anything. You have to use it every so often. Even if it's because when the emergency comes, you need it and it doesn't work, then it becomes a problem. I guess the biggest problem they have there is their maintenance schedule, or maybe they have a maintenance schedule and they're just not doing it. Root. I don't know, man. Look, I'm a construction worker here, and I just want to see if there's an idea out there. I did look up some. I didn't really try too hard to look up so much information. I see they got levees, they're almost like little dams, and then they got a few like floodgates and pumps and stuff of that nature. And I saw on one news article that their pump systems in one area pumped water to another area and flooded it, and that's just poor planning, and poor planning leads to poor execution. So when the pumps did save that one city but executed another, and that's just, it's not funny. It's not funny. They struggle in there, and hopefully they all get back on their feet. The Cajun people, strong people, I'm sure they will get back on their feet. But I just want to throw a few ideas out there. I thought about it. I mean, I didn't really put a lot of thought into it. Actually, maybe like 15 minutes of thought and like 2 minutes of drawing. And when you see the drawing, you will see that there's about 2 minutes of drawing because I didn't really try very hard to make it nice. I just trying to explain something, and I don't really know if it works because I'm not an engineer. But we're gonna see. I'm gonna show something. Maybe somebody can answer the question for me. I always thought that if you slow down the progression of the water by making the levees multi-level, then having the pumps in between the levees, as you see here, the pumps in between the levees as it rise. Now, what I think that will do is it'll slow down the progression of the water coming up, so each pump will work less. So if you had a flash flood, of course all the pumps are going to work at once because the water level will rise so fast. But if the floods are slowly coming up, that means only one pump going to work, and then as that pump is pulling water, it will slow down the progression to the next level of the levee. And then if it does reach the next level of the levee, next pump kicks on. The next pump kicks on, and it slows down the progression to the next levee. However levels you can, how many levels ever you can make it, 3 or 4 and probably be whatever. It just, to me, it makes sense. And when they do build the levees, I think they should put some kind of barrier that rises above a little bit to keep debris out of the pump systems. If debris enters the pump, unless you got them, some pumps have grinders. I know sewer pumps have grinders. Sewer pumps have grinders that can practically grind anything. It takes a block of concrete to stop it. And it's very interesting. Excuse me, very bad habit. I tried to quit. I always tell myself I'm trying to quit, but to be honest, I'm a smoker, and I quit when I have a good reason to. I did vape, but I just ended up puffing on that thing all day. It turned into another bad habit. But anyway, This is the start. So each pump has a level. And then there's the next level, then the next level, then the next level. And as the water progresses up, it enters the pump room. And then it will actively pump. So if you have a small flood, only one pump will be working at the time. Now just remember, all of this has to be accessible for maintenance. So this whole area will probably be an empty room, at least separated by levels. That or all the pumps can be in a single room. And only one, as the water rises, only one pump kicks on, and then as it levies in, levies in, levies in, levies in. I do think that each of these pumps. Well, this is a bit of a complication thing. I don't know. I was just doing so whatever. But there be lines of holes. You cannot have a single entrance, just because once that entrance is clogged, you're screwed. So multiple entrances down the line of the levee will probably be the most effective way. One, to keep debris out, and two, to make sure that the one hole will not compromise the entire thing. Barricade, simple, just look like a freaking prison guard stuff. And then finally, it's a pretty simple concept. Now, where the water goes is probably the most important question. Now, I don't know, I believe you can probably use gravity depending on how high you have to pump the water. But the higher you pump water vertically, the harder the pumps have to work. So if it's easier to, but at the very least, once you pump into an area that's high, you don't have to worry about the water backflowing. So I don't know if it'd be feasible to pump water into a water tank and have it. What you're basically doing is you have a gravity feed coming all the way down. Oh, so you have alright, we put it here. Tank, down, gravity. You pump water high enough, the gravity take it down. Make it large pipe. You don't want debris and stuff building up in this. And this all has to be maintained as well. Then once you get to a certain level, you can run a straight pretty much halfway. Storm drains are almost late level all the way up to, I don't know, the ocean. But see, Louisiana, or at least New Orleans, they say 17 feet below sea level. And say this will be the level that it's always constantly at. The sea will backflow into this because it's 17 feet below. But as the water rises, as you pump water in, it will flow. It will automatically flow all the way out. And you don't have to worry about water backflowing into the pumps. Yeah, but who knows if I'm right or wrong? Who knows the size of the tank that it has to do to diverge that much water? And would you use multiple tanks tied into a single line? It'd probably be the most effective way to do it. So you have multiple tanks at high level. These things will probably have to be made out of concrete. Salt water has a tendency to be concrete, and probably has to be sealed. You don't want salt water leaching into the water system. But in Louisiana, the swampy areas are kind of brackish water as you get closer and closer to the ocean. There's also a possibility you can do a long-term transfer of the water. There's also a way to do it gravity-wise. I'm not sure. You're gonna have to use transfer stations or booster pump stations, and that's just more maintenance really. If you can find a way to use gravity, because gravity always exists. Pumps will fail, gravity will remain. And then on top of that, they have tornado shelters. Why do they not build flood shelters? Just a pontoon. It could be something so simple as just a room built on 3 pillars. Rollers on the pillars connected to a platform. The rollers are there to make sure that it rises straight up and down and to keep it somewhat stable if the water's rocking. There's 2 layers of roller. A single layer roller, that means when one tries to come up, the other one will it's possible to not capsize it, but it will tilt a little bit, and you don't want this to be too tight, because it might not rise when you want it to rise when the water comes up. So I think 2 rollers on a triangle platform. The only important thing is whatever the footing of this structure is has to be incredibly strong, because once the ground is saturated, it's going to be very unstable, and even the deepest footing might collapse. This is supposed to be a flood shelter, and to me, I was going to think about using a single post and then having a roller there, but I don't think that's very feasible. It might work. Them light post things are pretty strong, I tell you. One time, we put it on the excavator. I put it on the excavator blade. I had a fully loaded single axle dump truck. Tried to drive over it because we were trying to bend it. It didn't bend, and it was quite interesting. It didn't want to bend. Excuse my teeth are yellow because I've been drinking coffee. Self-conscious because I see myself incoming. It's possible. So an engineer will probably have to figure out the physics of it and see what kind of if it's feasible. But it's just an option. Hopefully they can. Yeah, I just wanted to help. But I think the biggest issue is maintenance. Maintenance. I think if you start at one pump every day and test all the way down the line, I think in 365 days you test every pump. At least you're testing once a year. Maybe if you do it, if you're testing 2 or 3 pumps a day, the single maintenance team does the same freaking thing every day. It becomes like clockwork. So what, you do 3 pumps a day, that means you have 365 pumps. You're testing pumps you're testing every 4 months. Every 4 months, the pump is tested. Once in full rotation, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Anyway, that was just on my mind after reading the news. There's some political stuff out there. I don't really want to touch on that. There's real problems to be solved, or at least think about it, and that should be brought up to the attention of people. And I think the real problem is not really in the social atmosphere. Even though social problems will probably lead to horrible problems down the line, proper infrastructure is more important to me than figuring out the social problem, because it's just gonna have people yelling at each other all the time because one believes they're right and one believes they're wrong, and it's even worth at least math. 1 + 1 is always equal to 2 much.